Hello, and welcome to this Gemini New Moon Intention Ceremony. My name is Tiffany, and I will be your guide. We are going to walk through a little bit of information about working with lunar cycles, and particularly the Gemini flavor that is influencing this new moon. I'm going to give you guys some questions that you can do self-reflection on, so a chance to kind of journal and write down a few things to get you into that creative flow and creative state for writing your intention. We will plant the seed of that intention with a guided visualization and create our first action step. But let's get started by dropping in with a little meditation. Gemini is an air sign, so I'd like for us to get comfortable. Close your eyes, and we're going to drop in with the breath. And I want you just to notice your interaction with the air through your breath. Perhaps you're noticing the shift in the temperature in the air that enters your body versus the air that leaves. Maybe you're noticing that each breath is slightly different, some longer, some shorter. Noticing that there's no need to change your breath, just allowing it to flow naturally. I invite you to also become aware of the air that surrounds your body. What's the temperature like? Is there a breeze, or are you experiencing stillness? Can you feel the air, or does it feel like there's nothing at all? And I'd like for us to invite an intention for the ceremony. Like the air, there are things that are occurring around us that we cannot see, but yet they are crucial to our existence. And I invite you to set the intention to experience this ceremony with an open mind and an open heart. A curiosity that allows you to dip into the unseen, experience the unknown, and yet know that throughout this entire ceremony you are safe and supported. Let's take one deep breath in together and let it go. When you feel ready, you can open your eyes, come back into the room. The new moon is occurring on January 13th at 12:43 p.m. in the Pacific time zone. And as I mentioned, this new moon is occurring in the zodiac sign of Gemini. Gemini is symbolized by the twins. So one of the components you could think about as you are working through this ceremony is perhaps whether collaboration is something to consider. Working with another to maybe help further an agenda or a passion project or a goal. or maybe to help you take down some walls that you have built that keep you separate. Maybe a chance for you to collaborate in the community, working together with others on a shared mission. I'd also like to mention that Gemini is ruled by Mercury, the planet. So we often hear of Mercury as the time where the world kind of goes into panic because it's retrograde and people are like, my technology is not working, or communication breakdowns. It's a time that kind of throws everyone into a tizzy. But with this Gemini new moon and Mercury direct, we can work with those characteristics of communication, intelligence, and technology in a way that serves us, embracing those ways that help empower us rather than limiting. So thinking about your technology, for example, is your relationship with your phone serving you or disserving you? Is it allowing you to connect and get to know people, have meaningful discussions and relationships? Or is it distancing you because you only communicate through text message and you don't really hear the voice of the other person on the other end? I also want to introduce the idea of the archetypes. Archetypes are like a grouping of characteristics or traits that are relatively universal. So, for instance, if you think of a king, you probably have an image that comes to mind. Maybe the images are slightly different, but you think of someone who has power, maybe regal, authority, someone who kind of sets the tone. Those are characteristics of the archetype of the king. And I'm introducing this concept because working with the archetypes can help us to embrace parts of ourselves that are strengths, or they could create strength for us in areas where maybe we're not as strong. And the Gemini archetypes in particular that I want to introduce today are the storyteller, the entertainer, the trickster, the eternal child, and the shapeshifter. And we're going to dive in kind of deep on the storyteller, but I want you to be aware of the other ones, as those could also be used to dive deeper and do some of the journal prompts, if you so choose. And there's plenty of information out there. If you're kind of curious, like, what's a shapeshifter? You could go out there and Google search. I'll give you the quick idea. Shapeshifter is someone who kind of morphs into whatever is needed, puts on different masks to appease the group that they're in. So maybe in a corporate setting, they show up as their corporate self, but in their personal life, they put on a completely different personal mask. Or maybe it's they take off the corporate mask and it's just their personal self. So someone who changes who they are and how they show up in the world based on where they are and who they're with. But let's dive in more with the storyteller. And the reason why I think this is so important is because we all work with stories, whether those stories are known or unknown. Some of those stories start as early as our childhood, stories that are planted in us before we even really decide if it's a story that we want to choose. Stories that become part of our unconscious habits, stories that limit us, or stories that empower us. And I think stories are so cool to work with because you get to choose which ones you want to keep, which ones you want to hold on to. And a lot of times we don't realize which stories we're telling ourselves until we sit down and look at them. And so that's what I'm going to invite you to do today. If you would love to get out your journal, that'd be great. If you want to open up a Word doc on your computer, totally awesome. If you would like to go to my website, I have a handout that's available free for download. It has the journal prompts on there. You could grab those and write those out. Whatever you need to do, go ahead and pause me to grab whatever tools you need to. And I'm going to introduce this self-reflection moment and ask that you take as little or as long as you would like to dive into the subject to whatever depth feels comfortable for you. Maybe you look at all the topics right now. Maybe you spread it out. Again, this ceremony is for you, and I invite you to do whichever serves you best. I'm going to introduce you to 5 aspects of your life. And those aspects, I'm going to ask you to write down at least one story that you are telling yourself that is empowering or serving you. One story that is helping you to live your truth and take you to that next level of greatness. And then I would also like you to investigate one story that is limiting you. One story that's holding you back from being your true self. One story that's keeping you small, restricting your growth. And with that one story, I also ask that you take it one step further to say, do I want to continue the story? And if the answer is no, I invite you to rewrite that story in a way that serves you. And maybe that means throwing the whole piece of paper away and writing a completely fresh and new story that embodies what you want to feel, what you want to have, what you want to be in this lifetime. Releasing that old story completely. So let's dive into the 5 aspects. And you are welcome to work with all of them, some of them, replace them, or add as you see fit. The first one that I'm going to invite you to look at is livelihood and lifestyle. Now I want you to think about this as your work, your career, your wealth, your home, your possessions, maybe travel. The second aspect that I invite you to consider is relationships and society, or relationships and community. So thinking about family, friends, community, neighbors, colleagues, coworkers, causes. What groups are you involved in? Or maybe what groups would you like to be involved in? The third aspect I invite you to investigate is creativity and learning. So think about this as your artistic expression. Create. What do you create? What about education, knowledge, your enjoyment? What do you enjoy? Your hobbies. The fourth aspect is health and well-being. And think about this from a holistic perspective. Your health is not only your body, it's your mind. It's the food that you feed yourself. It's the liquids that you consume. It's your sexuality. So your health and well-being. And then the last item, certainly not the least, essence and spirituality. So think about this as your soul, your spirit, your true self, your authentic self. Think about your faith, your beliefs, the practices that support those beliefs. And so take a few minutes, write down your stories, whether they're supporting, limiting, being rewritten. And then when you're ready, come back and we'll do some intentions. So for the intention setting portion, I would love to have you look back at some of your journal reflections Maybe think about some of the Gemini characteristics that I mentioned earlier in the video, and think about, what would you like to plant today? What would you like to change? What would you like to embrace? What would you like to feel? Maybe what would you like to let go of? What part of you do you want to plant seeds in today to say that this is how I want to live my life? This is the reality that I want to create. And as you're doing this, I invite you to write these from the place as if they already exist. So instead of saying, I will do something, state your intention as if it's already occurred. I embody my mastery. It's different than, I will do that. Say it as if you mean it, as if it already happened, as if you're grateful because you've already embraced it. And focus on the positive. There's a difference between saying, I don't want to feel nervous, to saying, I feel powerful and strong. So focus on what you would like. Focus on it as if you already have it. And just take a few minutes, pause me if you need, and go ahead and write down what your intention is. And you don't have to be limited to just one. You're welcome to write out as much as you would like to in regards to what you would like to create today. And once you get that all wrapped up, I would like to take our first step by planting the seed of that intention. So again, get comfortable, seated, standing, lying down, whatever feels right for you, and close your eyes. And I'd like you to begin by repeating your intention 3 times, either out loud or to yourself. Now I'd like you to fast forward with me. Maybe you move ahead 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 5 years from now, to a time when you have fully realized and embodied your intention. All aspects of your intention have manifested, and you are experiencing the appreciation and gratitude for knowing you are a strong and powerful creator. And I want you to notice this future version of yourself. What's different? What can you see physically has changed? What about mentally or emotionally? What is this future version of yourself embodying in relation to achievement of this intention? As you step into the shoes of this future self, I ask you to notice how your interactions with others has changed. How has your day changed? Get into the details. Have your clothes changed at all? Have your possessions changed? What about where you live or where you work? The people that you interact with? What are those interactions like? And when you sit as your future self and reflect on what emotions you're experiencing, what comes up? I want you to fully feel into those emotions and notice how your body right now is even reacting. Do you feel an energetic shift? Maybe a tingling, maybe an urge to smile. What are you noticing in your body? What feelings are you feeling? It's with immense gratitude that we send thanks to all who help us fulfill our intention with ease and grace. We know that even with little action, we are able to obtain the things that we want to, make the changes that we need to, and that we do so in alignment with our highest and greatest good. We thank all who help us, including ourselves. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You can open your eyes, come back into the room. And I invite you to do one more thing. I invite you to write down one small step, or maybe it's a leap of faith, totally up to you. But one thing that you are going to do within the next 24 hours to further align yourself with this intention. And commit to making that happen within 24 hours. Because each little step that you take takes you closer to embodying that intention and to manifesting this reality that you want to create. So I ask that you start small, big if you want to. Start somewhere that you can do something in the next 24 hours. And keep in mind, it could be repeating this visualization. It could be setting the intention that you're going to have awareness over your thoughts. So when your mind goes down that old habit pattern that says, I'm not worthy, you're going to stop it and say, I'm choosing to think differently today. That is a step. That is a crucial step. Awareness is huge. With awareness, you can change. So right now, I would like you to write down what your one thing is that you are going to do in the next 24 hours. I would also like to invite you to mark on your calendars our next lunar phase that I will be working with is the Capricorn full moon. And that is happening on June 27th or 28th, depending on where you're located. I am in the Pacific time zone, so it's 9:53 p.m. for me. If you are the East Coast or anywhere further east from me, it might be early morning hours of the 28th. So I invite you to check out the moon calendar and see what the exact time is for you. I also want to invite you to check out my website. I had been doing these videos under my life coaching umbrella and realized that it kind of restricted my ability to share all the information that I truly want to provide. So I've created a new website. It's called Lunar, Love and Light. And there I will be filling that page with tons of information and knowledge about how to work with lunar cycles, information about the astrological components, kind of what we talked about today with Gemini. Also, starting to build out some practices. If you're interested in doing other practices and rituals, learning how to develop practices and rituals for these ceremonies, spiritual development, personal development, journal prompts, self-reflection, all things a little bit woo in my moon magic because I like it. So please, please, please check out my website, and I wish you beautiful new moon blessings. Thank you.